For our next speaker tonight, we have Lee Allen Baker. Lee Allen Baker is best known for her portrayal of Amy Duncan, America's favorite Disney mom on the internationally acclaimed hit series, Good Luck Charlie. Her career spans from recurring roles in Charmed and Emmy award-winning Will and Grace to producing and starring in the hit Disney Channel movie Bad Hair Day. After a thriving voiceover career in such shows as the Emmy award-winning Back at the Barnyard, to being Queen in Jake and the Neverland Pirates and the 7D, Lee Allen has discovered where her voice really counts. And it's here, sharing her story with you. Please welcome back to Liberty Hall, the one and only Lee Allen Baker.
Hello, hello. Oh, hello. That was loud. Well, I was going to start with I love you, but Jeremy stole it, so I guess I could say I love you more. Okay, some of you may recognize me from being in your living room or on television or in that movie that's premiering May 13th. Go see it in theaters. But I want to assure you that I'm really just your plain old, run-of-the-mill domestic terrorist. Otherwise known as a mom. So for those of you who were unable to join us last time, I'm that mom whose video went viral for inciting violence when I spoke politely at the Williamson County School Board meeting and left them with parting gifts. Their very own copies of the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and the Federalist Papers. As I pointed out, that these documents, along with the Holy Bible, guarantee my freedoms and yours and those of our children's to breathe oxygen. Now, last time I was here, I shared with you my insights to the little games that crooked politicians play and fascist globalist elites like to play with us. I call it the name change game. It's where they come up with a devious plan, but give it a really nice name, you know? So we're going to do a little refresher. I'll give you 3 off the bat. Number 1, the Patriot Act. Nothing patriotic about it, folks. Because the government can now spy on you and use anything they find that is contradictory to their agenda as an act of terrorism. The Great Reset. That's number 2. Sounds great, doesn't it? It's like a juice cleanse that's great and resets ya. Yeah. Except that, according to World Economic Forum guru Klaus Schwab, by 2030, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy about it. Yeah. He's also very excited about the new technology that doesn't change what you are doing, it changes who you are. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say that again for the people in the back. New technology that doesn't change what you are doing, it changes who you are. Those are his words, not mine. Don't shoot the messenger. For some reason, people hear the words Great Reset and think that this means a world where all humans will live equally. The same health care, the same houses, the same electric cars, a utopia of sameness. Let me assure you, it's not. That man is not going to give up his private jet, and he's not going to give you one either. It's the height of fascism. It's the Hunger Games, where the top 1% global elite would live in their ivory tower, drinking from gold chalices, and you would not be socialist like Canada or England. You would be District 19, and may the odds be ever in your favor. But we don't need to look that far. This nonsense goes on right here in Tennessee, right in our own backyards. Number 3 on my list, wit and wisdom. It's so witty and wise, you guys. It really is. It's like critical race theory, but better because it has alliteration. It's where they're saying that they are stopping racism, but they're actually creating it. See, wit and wisdom does not lift up our children. It doesn't fill them with hope and promise that everything is possible. It tears them down with something that is impossible to overcome, the color of the skin they were born in. It victimizes children who were born with one skin color, and it demonizes the children born with another skin color. They have segregated the beautiful cultural rainbow, the exquisite melting pot of the United States children based on skin color. They also use it to sexualize our children. There's pornography in our schools. I would share some of it with you now, but there are children in the room and I would go to jail. And for those of you thinking that your kindergartner is safe, these books are illustrated. So, how do we get out of this mess? Well, I think we should use our freedom of speech while we still have it. Yeah. Let's flip this game right side up and call it what it is, shall we? Tip number 1, let's make courage contagious by speaking the truth. It's not the Patriot Act. It's the unethical harassment of innocent civilians. It's not the Great Reset. It's the elite enslavement of humanity, otherwise known as the Fourth Industrial Revolution. It's not wit and wisdom. It's Operation Segregation through intimidation and grooming for pedophilia acceptance and normalization. They're no longer public schools. They're government indoctrination camps for kids. We just got to take the power back by calling it what it is. Okay, I have a question. The big question is, why do we give these people power? Just because they have more money than we do? We didn't elect them. They're not specialists. They're not divinely appointed. They're rich, okay? But when your child is sick, do you take them to your doctor of choice, or do you take them to Microsoft to see Bill Gates? Just a question. Is this one nation under government, or is it one nation under God? Is your body a temple born with unalienable rights, or is it a pincushion sponsored by Pfizer? When you are feeling broken and burdened by the world, do you rely on George Soros? Or do you get on your knees and seek comfort and guidance from the loving arms of your Heavenly Father? See, I have this theory. If the pen is mightier than the sword, it's also mightier than money. This is why there's the big push to censor words, to censor thought, to censor and control all that you say and do. Well, I don't do that. Tip number 2, do not comply. Do you know how I got away with going maskless for the past 2 years? I would go to a restaurant or a store, and the person at the front would say, "Ma'am, you need a mask," and I would smile and say, "I don't do that." See, I would like this all to end here, before there is a hill to fight on, before there is a hill to die on, because as of now, it is a hill to do not comply on. This is the hill of, I don't do that. But if you insist on compliance, or even just complacency, you are eroding the very premise of freedom. You are marching the world's only free republic into total tyrannical fascism. And if that doesn't scare you into finding your brave, I don't know what will. In 1775, John Adams wrote, "Liberty once lost is lost forever. When the people once surrender their share in the legislature and their right of defending the limitations upon the government and of resisting every encroachment upon them, they can never regain it." These people that are encroaching upon our freedoms are not just the politicians. They are the elite billionaires club of Davos. You know what they say, nothing good ever comes out of Davos. They call themselves the elite. They gave themselves that title so that we feel less than, so that we get the hint that they're superior. They're not. They just have more money. And that's okay. That means that they can buy more things. It doesn't mean that they can buy us or our freedoms. We are not for sale. Tip number 3, ask questions. We don't have to know all the answers, but we had better make darn sure that we're asking the right questions. Ask why. Follow the money. Ask yourself who has more to gain and who gets nothing out of it. Did you know that when our government borrows money from the Federal Reserve, that we are not the Federal Reserve? Did you know that the Federal Reserve, or that our government is not the Federal Reserve? Did you know that it's owned by private stakeholders? It gets worse. Did you know that the Federal Reserve maintains a balance of 0, that they write blank checks? Did you know that we, the citizens of this country, work to pay them back from money that was never given with interest? But you know what would really give them the ultimate control? Government-controlled digital currency. So let's slow that process down as much as we can. So here's tip number 4, write it down. Spend cash and buy American-made. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Cash is still a legal currency. Go into a store that is not owned by Jeff Bezos and spend your money there. And don't fool yourself, he owns Whole Foods now too. So tip number 5, live local. There are local farmers all around us in Tennessee that sell good quality produce, locally sourced packaged foods with healthy, humane animal practices. Tip number 6. This is going to be weird coming from an actor. Cut your entertainment in half. Turn off the news and the TV. It's called television for a reason. It's meant to tell a vision. And to keep you paralyzed in fear. And to keep you from thinking for yourself. And to keep you from your family. From enjoying the miracles God has put across from us at the dinner table. When I was a little girl, we would have dinner at a table. It was a table that we sat at. And it had a tablecloth and utensils and a healthy meal set before us. And we would say a prayer of thanks to God. And we would talk about our day. And if the phone, which hung on the wall, it hung on the wall, and had like a curly dangly cord that you would get tangled up in, right? If it rang, you dare not answer it. In fact, the overwhelming consensus at the table would be a resounding, who could possibly be calling it supper time? Today, people eat standing up over the sink while scrolling through Instagram. And don't get too excited about mainstream news that shares your thoughts and opinions because they're all owned by the same companies. They're there to provide opposition. This is strategically for the purpose of pitting us against one another. It's Republican versus Democrat, masks versus faces, vaccines versus immunity, black versus white, man versus woman, gay versus straight. Its sole purpose is division and distraction. So here's tip number 7. Love God, love people. That's right. Love thy neighbor. It's an oldie but goodie. And sometimes it's really easy. and sometimes it's really not. I gave a speech recently at a health and freedom event, and a woman came up to me afterwards, and she was so sweet, and she gave me this big, warm hug, and she said, "I am so happy to hear you say that we should love people who think differently because I'm a communist." I mean, these are the times that I'm reminded that God has a sense of humor to match my own. And after gently inquiring if she had ever actually been to China or Venezuela or Cuba, I decided to just love her where she was. I mean, believe me, I wanted to buy her a one-way ticket to any of those countries of her choice. But instead, I chose to find some common ground and see her in that moment. Now, just because you should love thy neighbor doesn't mean you should vote for thy neighbor. Fun fact, that school board meeting in Williamson County wasn't the only school board meeting I've ever spoken at. I've spoken and been filmed publicly at 3 other school board meetings in the Los Angeles Unified School District. Not a one went viral. Not a one was featured on Inside Edition. Not a one got me on Fox News. I have slowly come to realize that it's possible that when I fled California and came to Williamson County in search of freedom, that instead I have unknowingly gone from the frying pan and into the fryer. The longer that I'm here, the more I'm made aware that there is an establishment here in Williamson County that does not have our best interest at heart. They're a tricky bunch, but the good news is that I'm surrounded by people who see it, who can't be easily fooled or compromised. And I'm standing here today as a warning. Don't you let them California my Tennessee. It is becoming increasingly difficult to determine who is truly here to protect our freedoms and represent the people versus who is part of the corrupt establishment. And they don't take kindly to political newcomers, so much so that they have doxed several of our candidates and gone so far as to change the rules in hopes of ruining their chances of even being placed on the ballots. We can no longer simply trust voting along party lines. We have to become wise enough to look beyond the R's and the D's. You do realize that we have leftist wit and wisdom, mask-pushing, pharma-funded liberals running under the Republican ticket, right? Mm-hmm. And I just want to give a shout-out to District 4, Elliot Franklin. Yeah, that's my shout-out to my guy. You know why? Because there's a guy running against him who everyone says is a really good Christian man. He's a good Christian man. He's a good Christian man. Well, I'm here to tell you that Elliot Franklin is a good man and a good Christian man. And brave and bold and smart as a whip. You know what he's not that the other guy is? A lobbyist for Pfizer. That is a conflict of interest, and that other guy shouldn't even be allowed to be on the ballot. So how do we sift our way through this? Well, this is where the Williamson Families PAC comes into play. They've spent over 1,500 hours vetting these candidates. And you can tell they're good candidates, too, because the political establishment does not like it one little bit. But this is a newly birthed grassroots organization, and we all have to do our part to make it a success. They need our support. There are financial mountains to climb. Not only will the other side play dirty to keep their foothold, they have deep pockets as well. If you can donate, please do. If your business can match funds, please do that. But if you can walk and knock on doors, we need you too. If you can pick up the phone and call people, we need you. If you can talk to your congregation at church, we need you. This is about to be a major race to the finish line, and we need every person in this room to band together and do their part. We need boots on the ground. We need you on election day, too, to work the polls. I'm sorry. When I first heard that expression, it is not what I had in mind. Oh, my word. However, we need to hold the system accountable for voter integrity. So we got to work the polls. But we also need gratitude and prayer, not just for this pack, but for our candidates. Our neighbors and friends and family members have bravely thrown their all into the political fire pit to stand up for your rights and freedoms. I've said many times this is a mama bear revolution, but I'm happy to say it now also belongs to the single freedom-loving bears and the papa bears and the grandpa bears and the grandma bears. What I'm telling you is the time of hibernation is over. This is when we crawl out of our nice, warm, comfortable Netflix caves and take a stand. It's all hands on deck to pull off a political David and Goliath of epic proportions. So when you see a candidate tonight, thank them. Show them immense gratitude. Pray Psalm 91 over them and their families every single day. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Write their names down and pray that they have wisdom, discernment, resolve, strength, and the full armor of God. But we're not going to pray out of fear. We're going to ask without hidden motive through Him and be surrounded by our answer. That means that we're going to ask while simultaneously surrounding ourselves with the feeling that our ask has already been given and answered with a resounding yes. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So I boldly proclaim that the Patriot Act be used to hold politicians accountable for their crimes. I faithfully express my gratitude that the Great Awakening has now taken a foothold and overcome the Great Reset. That public schools are now in the hands of the public once again. And that our county, our country is renewed and revival is abundant and alive. Thank you.